Hey everyone, it's Riley from Echidna Sewing here, and today I'm going to show you how to make this mini duffel bag. This duffel bag is a perfect travel-sized option for those wanting to pack a bit lighter, maybe an overnight trip. It's also a great bag to use as a gym bag or a personal day-to-day bag. Now the fabrics I like to use are something a bit stiffer like denim, cotton duck or canvas. You can also use broadcloth or calico. Now you're going to need approximately 80 centimeters of each piece of fabric, your lining and your main fabric. Now you can make this bag a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller if you wanted to. If you want to make it bigger, all you got to do is simply take our biggest number, which today is going to be 40 centimeters, make it as big as you want, and then half it for the side pieces. So for example, if you wanted to make a 60 centimeter bag, all you do is halve that, that's 30 centimeters, so your side pieces are going to be 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. Here's what you're going to need. Your fabrics, I'm using a cotton duck and a broadcloth today. You'll need pins, a zip, I'm using a 14-inch zip, rotary cutter, cutting mat, scissors, ruler, or you can use a measuring tape, an iron. You'll need your sewing machine. I'm using the Brother NV50S today. I'm using Resent thread in a grey colour and TNC's regular point needles. Let's get into it. Firstly, because we're working with our patchwork ruler today and most patchwork rulers are in inches, I'm going to go ahead and convert our centimetre measurements into inches. However, both measurements are listed on our instructions on our website. So firstly, we're going to take our main fabric and we want to cut two squares that are 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters or 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Now you can cut these with the fabric folded. Now when using a rotary cutter, it's important that you use one of our patchwork rulers instead of a regular ruler, as it's thicker and you're less likely to run over the ruler. Right, there's our first two pieces. Now we're going to cut a 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter piece or a 15-inch by 15-inch piece. And there are two front pieces. Now we want to cut two 20 centimeter by 15 centimeter pieces or 7.5 inches by 5 inches. Okay, and there is our two pocket pieces. And the last piece we need to cut out of our main fabric are our zipper tabs, which are going to be 5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters or 2 inches by 1 inch. Right, there's our zipper tabs. Now you can choose to do your bag straps out of your main fabric, but I'm going to do mine out of my lining today. So let's move on to the lining. All right, so now with your lining, you're going to need to cut out all the pieces you've cut out with your main fabric plus your straps. All right, now for our straps, you want to cut out two pieces that are 76 centimeters long and 7.5 centimeters wide, or 30 inches long and 3 inches wide. I've just cut off the selvage edge to make it a bit easier for us to measure. And there are our straps. Now let's get into the sewing. All right, and now we're ready to start sewing. So you want to take your pocket pieces, which are your 20 centimeter by 15 centimeter ones. You'll need one of your lining and one of your main fabric. And you want to clip or pin them together, right sides together, like so. I'm going to do that for my other piece. Now we can go ahead and sew with a straight stitch about 0.5 centimeters away from the edge. Repeat for your other piece. All right, and now we're going to use a zigzag stitch to seal in that edge. And the same with your other piece. All right, now that we've sewn our two pocket pieces together, we're going to go ahead and flip the lining and the main fabric so the right side is out. And we're going to iron along this top seam here. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and top stitch along that edge, pretty much as close to the edge as you can get. And repeat for your other piece. All right, and now we can attach these to our side pieces. So take your two side pieces, these are your 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter squares, and you'll want to decide which fabric side of your pocket you want showing. So you can either your main fabric or your lining. I'm choosing to do my lining side facing out as a bit of contrast. So you'll take your side piece and align the bottom edge of your pocket piece with the bottom edge of your side piece. Then pin or clip those edges. Then once you've done that, you can go ahead and sew from one side of the pocket down, across the bottom and up the other side, making sure you leave the top open, otherwise you'll close your pocket off. Sew about 0.5 centimeters from the edge. Then go ahead and repeat that for your other side piece. Make sure you're trimming your threads as you go. And now you can set aside your pockets. We're going to move on to our straps now. Now there are two ways that you can make these straps. I'm going to show you the easy way, but there is multiple ways that you can do it. Take your first strap and you're going to fold over the piece lengthwise in half with right sides together and pin or clip all the way down. Now on both ends, I'm going to just turn over my end like so, so that when I sew these together and flip them right side out, I'm not going to have a raw frayable edge. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew 0.5 centimeters from the raw edge. Now we can go ahead and zigzag that edge in. If you have an overlocker, you're more than welcome to overlock these edges instead of zigzagging. All right, now that we've done that strap, go ahead and repeat this process for your other strap. All right, now let's go ahead and turn both of our straps right side out. Okay, now that we've turned our two straps out, let's go ahead and iron them flat. Now that we've ironed our straps flat, we're going to go ahead and top stitch all the way around the circumference of our strap. Try and sew as close to the edge as possible. And go ahead and repeat that top stitching for your other strap. Alright, and now we can attach our straps to our front pieces. So grab your front pieces, just your main fabric, not your lining. Face it the way you want it to go. So this is the way I want mine to go up. With my ruler, so I'll pull this up a bit higher so you can see. I've got 5 inches down, which is 15 centimeters, and I've got 3 inches across, which is 7.5 centimeters. Now at this point up here is where I want to pin my strap. So take your strap, and you're going to place the bottom at that top point there. And then pin that down to your fabric. After you've pinned that, you want to go up to the top and measure out again 5 inches from the top. So that's this point here. 3 inches over, again either 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches. Line that strap up, and then you're going to pin across that point there. Alright, so when we sew our straps on, we're going to go across the bottom, up to this top pin, across and back down. So we have this bit of spare strap for our handles. Now you can repeat this on the other side. Make sure that when you're pinning down these straps that your handles aren't twisted or folded in any way. They should sit nicely like that. Now I'm just going to go up to the top and do the same up to the top here. Now repeat this for your other side. Alright, now let's sew our straps on. When stitching your straps on, try and go over your original top stitching so it doesn't differ too much. Also, don't forget to back tack your stitching. If you have the Brother NV50S like I do, your machine can do this automatically. Alright, so that's what your stitching should look like now. And we're going to go ahead and repeat that on the other side. Alright, now we can start working on our zip. Alright, so take your zip tabs, and what you're going to do is you're going to fold over the top and bottom edge just slightly and iron that flat. Just like that. Now repeat that for your other one. Right, now that we've got those two like that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim my zip down. So I don't need all of this excess at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this down just until I have about 1/2 centimeter above the end. Throw all those bits away. And now what we're going to do is we're going to place our zip ends into this tab and fold it over like so. So you can see here that the end of my zip is now covered by that tab. So let's clip it there. And let's do the other side. You only just want the end of your zip enclosed in this tab. These tabs are just to stop the zip coming out or apart when being used. Should look a little something like that. Now we're going to go ahead and sew a straight stitch as close to this edge as possible all the way across over the zip. And be very careful when you're sewing over the zip. I like to go really, really slowly. but my brother machine has no issues sewing through that zip whatsoever. Great, it should look just like that. Now let's do the other side. Just make sure that you've sewn both sides together, as sometimes the fabric can slip out a little bit. That looks pretty good. Just gonna check my zip, see how it is. Nice. Now we can go ahead and attach our zip to our front pieces. So grab one piece of your top piece. Make sure your handle's folded in like that. We don't want it getting in the way. Now I'll close my zip and I'm gonna place it face down and line up my zip edge, my top zip edge, with the top edge of my lining. And I wanna make sure that it's somewhere in the middle, like so. Now I'm going to take my lining piece and I'm going to place it right over the top. And I'm going to match up my main fabric, my zip, and my lining. And I'm going to pin it . Doesn't matter if your zip tabs stick out a little bit at the end. Alright, now when we sew this piece together, I'd highly recommend using a zipper foot instead of our normal zigzag foot. So I'm just going to change over our foot here and I'm going to place it on the left hand side. Like so. Alright, and now we're just going to sew along the edge from the very beginning. I'm just going to use the edge of my presser foot here to guide me.
With the zipper foot, you can set the needle on either the left or right sides of the foot, which allows you to sew as close as possible to the zipper teeth. This would be much more difficult with a standard foot because you won't be able to get as close to the zip. Always make sure to check your needle won't strike the foot. We also have a video on how to use a zipper foot, so check that out if you want to know more.
Now, as you get closer to the end with the zip head, you're going to need to adjust the zip. Ooh, this is a bad zip. And pull the zip towards the end of your fabric. This can be a little fiddly sometimes, but it just ensures we get a nice straight stitch all the way through to the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim this edge and then zigzag stitch it. Make sure when you're doing a zigzag stitch that you change your zipper foot back to your zigzag foot. Now that I'm approaching my zipper head, I'm going to make sure my needle is in my fabric. I'm going to lift my presser foot up and I'm going to pull my zip from the top up here all the way down to the other end. And now I can continue. Now we can flip that right sides out and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to iron down this seam that we've just sewn. Don't forget to trim excess threads as you go. Now that we've pressed that flat, I'm just going to pop that right down in front of you with your main fabric facing up. Now you're going to take your other piece of main fabric. Make sure your handles are facing the same way. You don't want one handle facing one way and one the other. And you're going to place that face down just over like that. And now you can flip it. I'm just going to close my zip here to make it a bit easier. And then I'm going to take my other lining fabric place that right over the top there. Now I can pin these three together. Okay, and now let's sew this side together. Again, I'm switching over to my zipper foot. If you don't want to keep changing between feet, you're more than welcome to attach both sides on before zigzagging the both of them. Again, as I'm approaching my zipper head, needle in, foot up, and I'm going to take that zipper all the way down. I can keep sewing. Making sure you backtrack. All right, now let's trim this one and zigzag it. So now when you open up your bag, you should have your two main layers with your zip nicely in the middle, and then underneath your two lining pieces with that zip nice and right in the middle. All right, so now what we're going to do is you want to lay out your bag so that your lining pieces are together and your main pieces are together. And we're just going to sew the bottom seam on both sides. Let's go ahead and match up our bottom seam for our main fabric and just pin in place or clip as I'm doing here. Then we can do the same for our lining fabric. Let's start with the main fabric seam first. Let's sew 1.5 centimeters from the edge. Make sure you back tack. Great, let's do the other side now. But it's very important that when you're sewing this bottom seam on your lining that you want to leave about a 3-inch gap or 7.5 centimeters right in the middle. This is going to allow us to turn our bag right side out when we're ready. I'm going to back tack there, lift up, and continue on this side. All right, now let's trim these and zigzag the edges. Now when you're trimming the lining piece, try not to go so short over this gap. So if you can see here, I'm going to go up and around that gap there before heading back and trimming like usual. That just gives us a little more room when it comes to sealing the hole at the end. Once we've done that, we can now attach our side pieces to our front pieces. I'm going to start with our pockets first. So first things first, we're going to find the middle point of the top and bottom of our pocket pieces. So I've folded my pocket piece in half, this way. All I'm going to do is snip a little notch in the bottom like that. I'm going to repeat that for my other piece. And while I'm here, I'm going to do the same for my lining pieces. Fold them in half and snip a little notch. pop those lining pieces aside for now. So now with one pocket piece at a time, basically going to attach this pocket piece to the side here. So let's take our bottom seam that we just sewed, and I'm going to match it up with this notch that I've just made in this pocket. So let's match that up. And I'm going to clip. Now we can work all the way around until our entire pocket is clipped to our bag. This part can be a little bit tricky, so just take it slow, and you can easily unclip or unpin and redo as many times as you need until you get it right. All right, now that we've pinned that side, let's go ahead and do the other one. Okay, now that that's all clipped, we can go ahead and sew these together. Just use a straight stitch 1.5 centimeters from the edge. My tip for when you pivot at the edge is go about 1.5 centimeters away, pop your needle in, bring your presser foot up, switch your fabric around, and you're going to push all that fabric underneath like that. Then you should be good to go straight away. About 1.5 centimeters, put my needle down, press a foot up. I'm going to push all this fabric underneath as I pivot that around. And just double check to make sure that your fabric is sitting under, like mine is not here. There we go. And it's okay if the corners get a little bunched up. It's not really going to matter in the long run. Okay, I'm now just going to check all my seams to make sure that I've sewed everything down. And it looks like I have, so I'm going to move on to the other side. Also, when you get up to this top part here where the main fabric meets the lining, make sure that you have that lining pushed all the way under your main fabric so it doesn't get caught up in your stitches. Again, I'm just going to check my seams to make sure everything was stitched in. Wonderful. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim down these seams and zigzag the edges. Okay, after that's done, you can go ahead and repeat that process for your lining side pieces. All right, now that we've attached our sides on all four ends, let's go ahead and turn this bag right side out. All right, and when you pull it out, it should look a little something like this, with your main fabric out there and your lining up at the top here. Now all we have left to do is to seal this hole that we used to turn our bag right way out. All you're going to do is make sure that those edges are folded in towards the wrong side of the bag. Clip those shut, and now all you're going to do is sew a top stitch just to close that off. All right, now you can pop your lining back into your bag, making sure all the edges match up. And there you have your mini duffel bag. Now please tag us on Instagram so we can see your creations. Happy sewing, and we'll see you next time.